Alright guys, so now that you watched the first video, welcome. And if you've gotten this far, you're already so much ahead of everybody else that's out there trying to do PR, trying to write for a majority of big name publications and all this kind of stuff. So congratulations, and I want to take you step by step with me to the next point, which is how to build relationships with editors. And I guess I should put also journalists. Okay, so building relationships with lots of people that write for different publications is one of the best things you can do to really take your PR game to the next level. And it's free PR. Like, think about it this way. Like, if you can do that, if you have a friend that writes for Forbes, if you have a friend that writes for Huffington Post, you have a friend that writes for Inc., for Business to Community, for Bloomberg, and any of these publications, Business Insider, Fast Company, you literally do not have to pay like thousands of dollars, because to do PR and to pay for it, it's not cheap, because it takes years and years of building of relationships and experience and insider secrets, all this kind of stuff to really run a PR company like I do. So I'm literally gonna teach you guys something that you will never see this ever on my Facebook page. You're never gonna find this information on my website. You're not going to find this information really anywhere else out there, okay? So turn off your cell phones, okay? Just close other tabs, whatever you need to do to make sure that you're 100% focused on some of these tips that I'm going to share with you guys, because these are literally going to be like insider's tricks that I've learned over the last 6 years that I've been doing this. And as you know, I write for dozens of major publications, and so I know the game. Let's get started. I'm going to give you guys a whole bunch of tips this time. Okay, tip number 1, okay? Figure out which publication you want to write for. Figure out the pub you want to write for. That's your first step, because there's a different approach to pitching to publication, to authors and to contributors based on which publication you're writing for. Like, for example, you want to write for Bloomberg, or you want to get mentioned in Bloomberg. Well, you should probably know that there aren't that many freelance contributors to Bloomberg. There are only like 30 people in the entire staff of Bloomberg that actually writes for Bloomberg, and they're all on staff. So knowing that is going to automatically help you save so much time reaching out to people that you think write for Bloomberg just because they have Bloomberg listed on their LinkedIn bio. So you need to know, like, does this publication even accept community contributors, or do they only have staff writers? If it's community contributors that they're accepting, what kind of model are they using? Is it very, very hard to get into it? Is it fairly easy? Or how many people actually write there? What kind of sections do they contribute in? So knowing all of those things is going to help you tremendously. And again, you want to first figure out like if that's actually a publication you want to pitch to. And you really won't know that until you do some significant research about that publication, which goes back to the point that I made in the last video, is that you got to actually read the publication. Don't pitch anywhere unless you're like a regular reader of that publication. Read some articles there. Get yourself familiar with the brand's voice. Get yourself familiar with who writes there. What do they write about? What is this publication really mainly focused on? And it will certainly make your pitch a lot more targeted when you do make a pitch. So let's talk about the second point. Tweet at them. Add on Facebook. / add on LinkedIn. All right. So editors and columnists of different publications are almost always going to be on one of these 3 platforms: Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn, right? So you have to reach out to them on those platforms. If you don't have a Twitter or Facebook and LinkedIn, well, that's your first step. Get a Twitter, get a Facebook, get a LinkedIn account. And how do you find their Twitters and stuff like that, okay? So what you do basically is make sure that you get their name wrong. That should really be actually another point by itself. Make sure you have the correct name, okay? That's one of the most common mistakes I also see, is that people will reach out to editors and stuff like that. Well, it's the wrong person. Like, they got the wrong information. They don't know. They didn't do their research. They just found, John Smith, who writes for Inc. And like, oh, okay, John Smith. Let me Google John Smith. Find the first John Smith. Find their email. Send it over. Well, the first thing you need to do is make sure you have the right person. Once you have the right person, you want to make sure that you connect with them on Twitter. One of the best ways to connect with people on Twitter, especially journalists, is to tweet at them. And notice I did not say message them to their Twitter inbox. You want to follow them, okay? Follow, and then you want to tweet at them. And there's a simple reason for why. It's because nobody checks their Twitter inbox. Hardly anybody checks their Twitter inboxes. Twitter is a platform with tons of noise. There's so much noise in Twitter. It's just ridiculously noisy, right? There's spam, there's all this stuff. But almost everybody checks their Twitter notifications because it's so rare to get notifications on Twitter. It's not like Facebook where you have thousands and thousands of notifications. Every time something happens, they notify you. Twitter is actually very selective with their notifications. And especially, people almost always respond when you tweet at them because it shows up publicly. They get to see it. It's a very public thing. It's like responding to a comment on Facebook, right? It's one of the best ways to reach out to anybody. And most of the time, if I'm not mistaken, unless the account is super private, you should be able to tweet at someone even if they're not following you back. But I do believe you have to follow them first. So tweet at them on Twitter. And tweet something nice, not just something random, but like, hey, I recently saw that you published this article, this piece. I absolutely love it. Just wanted to let you know. Thank you so much, Rafi. Just that's it. Just leave it at that. When you make the initial outreach, don't ask for anything. Don't be too elaborate. Just tell them how much you appreciate their work, how much you enjoy reading it, how much it brings value to your life, how it's impacting you and your business and your life, and just let them know that you appreciate the work that they do. Next, add them as a friend on Facebook. Now, this one might be harder because a lot of professional people, which again I don't think it's a good idea, will not add people as a friend on Facebook. They're like, oh no, it's my personal thing, and let's connect on LinkedIn instead. Well, Facebook was once upon a time like a friends and family type of thing, but now all sorts of business is happening on Facebook, as you might imagine. So, and you probably are, landed on this ad on Facebook probably, right? And then now you're watching this video. So there's a lot of things that are going on Facebook, and by all means, I think that it makes sense to build relationships over Facebook too. So in my opinion, you should definitely find these people on Facebook, but make sure you find the right person and make sure you find their page and their personal accounts and add them as a friend. And if it's a personal page, just like the page and send the page a message. Something similar to what you would say on Twitter. But again, you probably may not want to do all of them at the same time for the same person because they may think you're spamming them. So maybe you should first Facebook them, then if they don't respond, then tweet at them, then try LinkedIn, something like that. Kind of diversify and just kind of take a step-by-step approach towards it. So obviously the final platform, which is where everybody wants to connect on a professional level basis, is LinkedIn. And again, LinkedIn is a very, very awesome way to really find contributors because you can just type in the name. You go to LinkedIn search bar and you put in, Forbes. If you put that and you hit enter, well, guess what? LinkedIn's going to show you everybody that has Forbes in their profile somewhere, okay? And many of these people are going to be contributors to Forbes. They're going to be in the Young Entrepreneur Council. They're going to be in the Forbes 30 under 30 list. They're going to be, basically, they're going to be people that are affiliated with Forbes. You're not going to always be able to filter for people that write for Forbes. Maybe you can try something like, a keyword like popular keywords for stuff like this. I'll write a couple of them down over here. Are contributor. Words like columnist. Okay, there's words like writer. Okay, contributors, columnist, writer. Typically, one of the most commonly used terms that writers of these publications use to list their affiliations with these publications. So you can type in like contributor, Forbes on LinkedIn, and you may be able to filter out all the other random people that are affiliated with Forbes, and just really focus on just this type of people that are actually contributors or columnists or people that are writers at Forbes. So when you add these people on social media, it's going to be huge because, again, you're personalizing it, you're reaching out to these people, they know who you are. So when you send them an email, they're already going to be like, oh, wait, I know that guy. That guy's been following me on Facebook. Hey, that guy tweeted at me last week. So again, you're just personalizing, you're letting them see your life, because whatever you're sharing, they're probably likely to see that, right, on your Facebook updates, on your Twitter, and you get to see their life. So when you do have a conversation with them, when you do reach out to them, you can actually know exactly like what is in their life, what's going on. Like, did they recently have a baby? Are they passionate about, like, if you're reaching out to me, for example, right, you want to pitch me something, you would say, hey, Rafi, I just saw that you got some pigeons the other day. Congratulations, I also love birds. Did I tell you that I used to raise birds when I was a kid? Instantly, automatically, whether I want to be biased or not, guess what? I'm going to be more biased towards you. Why? Because you made a personal connection with me. You basically told me, hey, I can relate to you. We have similar hobbies. We do some similar things. Or reach out to me and say, hey, I love basketball. I noticed that you play basketball as well because you talk about it all the time on your Facebook. Well, you immediately set yourself apart from everybody else by just telling me that you have been following me and you notice that I enjoy basketball and you're reaching out to me for that, with that intention. So it makes perfect sense that you reach out to contributors and columnists on LinkedIn, Facebook, and these other types of different platforms. Can you go ahead and close that door, please? All right, so next. Once, again, I talked about this a little bit more in the last video that I made, but once you do find these contributors and these people, you want to really personalize things with them. I cannot possibly stress this one enough. I don't care how technically savvy you are. I don't care what you do. You have to make sure that you are 100% in sync and you are making the most potential, you're putting in as much efforts as you can in personalizing that relationship with that person. So, and what that means is that, like, anything you can do to personalize it, like getting them on the phone, getting them on a Skype video chat, okay? I see this all the time. It makes me almost irritated. People will get on Skype calls, and unless you're in bed and you're not ready, okay, that makes sense. And people will do a Skype call with you, but they won't turn on their video. Why not, man? Let me connect with you on a more personal level, right? Like, just turn the video on. And even if you're not having a good hair day, if you're like me, you're always having good hair. But even if you're not having a good hair day, you can still personalize the connection by turning on your freaking video. Let people connect with you. And one of the best ways you can connect with people is by talking to them on the phone, having a video chat with them, relating on past things you guys have both gone through. Anything that you can connect with them on, whatever it is. Just talk about mutual connections you might have. Just get past the business, the whole professional, all that stupid crap, and really get to know them as a person by sharing, being genuinely interested in their life. I am telling you this. I have literally made connections with so many big name people, successful people, people that are columnists of these major publications, simply by being interested in them as a person and not giving a crap about anything else, just by being their friend. I add them, I talk to them, I call them, I get a video chat with them, and if possible, I meet with them in person. And that sets me apart from 99% of other people that are pitching. Why? Because it's just the same concept as, let's just say you're trying to get out a ticket, okay? And you get pulled over and it's one of your friends. It's very unlikely your friend from high school is going to give you a ticket for speeding, okay? But if it's a cop that you don't know, well, guess what? Unless you're really smart and you can become friends in about 3 seconds, you're gonna get a ticket. So what's the difference between the friend cop and the cop that you don't know? Personal relationship. If you can build a personal relationship, you have no idea how much you're gonna get in business. And this, you can extend this outside of what we're talking about and into any scenario, anything really. Become people's friends. Be genuinely interested in them. Follow the Dale Carnegie principles of how to win friends and influence people. If you really, really understand that well, and if you are really good at building personal relationships, I promise you, you'll be very successful at building relationships with editors. Okay? So that's pretty much all there is for this video. Again, just focus on these kind of things. Figure out which publications you want to pitch to. Think of a unique story to pitch them. Add them on social media. Add them on Facebook. Make a very, very, make sure you have their correct name. Don't reach out to random John Smiths. Make sure that you really, really personalize each and every connection that you make with these people. Really get personal with them. We're talking about LinkedIn, how to search for people on LinkedIn. You can do the same thing on Facebook. You can do it on Twitter as well. And the publications themselves, by the way, if you go to their profile, again, if you're reading these publications and you go to the section where you want to contribute, you will notice that most of the contributors have their Twitter and their Facebook and stuff like that under their profile. You can just click it. It'll take you straight to their personal page, and you can connect with them there. And obviously, join groups. Like mine, for example. I run a group called Columnists of Major Publications. The group is filled with people that have that write for tons of these publications out there. So join groups on Facebook and LinkedIn and Google Plus and all these different places where you know that there's probably chances there are some writers of these major publications in those groups. Join the groups, start providing value, start connecting with people there, start calling these people on the phone, book a call with them, and I promise you, you will for sure, okay? If you're determined and you try enough, and your pitch is good, and take into account some of those things we talked in the last video, I promise you, you're gonna be successful at building relationships with so many editors and so many publications that when it's time for your product launch, you want to launch a new company, you have a new idea that you came up with, you just want to get some press, you're just gonna reach out to these people, you're gonna say, hey buddy, I haven't talked to you in a while, I got a great idea for a story, I'm gonna pitch it to you, let's talk. And they're gonna do it. And simply because you have that personal relationship with that editor and you followed some of these steps we talked about today. All right, so thank you guys again for joining on this video. I'll see you in the next one.